I've been looking into certain conspiracy theories, like such as a moon landing, such as JFK, such as 9/11, and the evidence is kind of overwhelming.
You know what's in the air, you know what's in the air, you know what's in the air, you know what's in the air. It's possibility, it's possibility, it's possibility, it's possibility.
All right, so Hasan Piker did an interview on his stream with Professor Jiang. This is the odd, not real professor, but kind of like YouTube teacher. He's a real teacher in China, or at least was, has a history of teaching there. Kind of an odd past, shady past. He was like a journalist in China that got arrested by the Chinese authorities because what he was doing is illegal. He was working with like American companies at the time. So he got in trouble with the Chinese government, got deported, but then ever since then has been working in China, and then since then blew up on the internet with a Western audience, supposedly, according to him, using a VPN. So he just like illegally accesses the internet and has this whole career as an influencer in the West. It's just kind of bizarre. And he has a bunch of crazy theories, but he essentially predicted that Donald Trump would get elected and go to war with Iran. And he does this with game theory. It's this very straightforward view of world politics in terms of, you know, these people have this amount of weapons and this leverage, and so they're going to use it, and this is going to happen. So that led him to the conclusion with Iran that Trump would go to war with Iran. I think it's a kind of theory that works particularly well with Trump because Trump's thinking is so straightforward and there's no subtlety in terms of policy on the world stage. So Professor Jiang's type of thinking is perfectly aligned with a leader like Trump, not so much other leaders whose thinking actually makes sense. And in this interview, you can see how crazy some of Professor Jiang's theories really get. He gets deep into some anti-Semitic stuff, and you know, a lot of it just seems to not make that much sense or just be based in really out there mysticism, and Hasan does a pretty good job of pushing back on most of it. So here's the beginning where he makes a prediction. I think this is the first time he's announced this prediction, maybe not, but he says that he believes Trump will get a third term, and so they go back and forth a little bit about the implications of that, what that would require, and Hasan also pokes some holes in some other predictions in the details, which leads to a pretty good exchange here. So here's that.
My next prediction, my big prediction, is that I think Trump will get a third term.
Okay, that's a little wild. All right, what makes you say that?
Well, first of all, he and his family have been stealing billions of dollars. That's a lot of corruption, and it's really unprecedented. So if he were to leave the office in 2028, you would imagine the first thing that any new administration would do is conduct an investigation, because it'd be very popular among the American people. 3 of the 9 justices were appointed by Trump. He'll probably get another one by the end of this year, possibly next year. So there'll be 4 appointed by Trump when this case goes to the Supreme Court. But you know, it'll be great for us because it'll be Barack Obama versus Donald Trump in 2028. Okay,
you said us. You're in the tank for the Democrats. Is that what it is? Am I getting that right?
No, I know. What I meant, I'm of course I'm being ironic. What I meant is, like, you know, just a general spectator.
Oh, okay.
It'll be like the WWE, right? The main event.
Okay.
The greatest clash in American politics. Barack Obama versus Donald Trump.
There was one thing that stuck with me, though, where you said that America was going to go up the escalation ladder with Iran. America was going to lose the war to Iran, but in the process of doing so, that there would be troop movements that from the rest of the region would join in on this battle and militarily invade Iran. Boots on the ground military warfare. Part of that, you said Saudi Arabia would amass 200,000 plus troops. Where, if you don't mind me asking, where did you get that number? Because I remember looking up the number of troops that the Saudi government has, and as far as like combat troops, it was nowhere near 200,000.
Okay, so to be perfectly honest with you, I didn't do thorough research when I came up with these numbers. When I give lectures, I'm trying to create a narrative that sort of captures the essence of what's happening. And so my larger argument is that America will go in a coalition, and this coalition will make up the bulk of its invasion force. But the bulk of the invasion force would be multinational. And you could also see some Japanese and Korean forces in there as well.
Wow, you think Japanese and Korean forces would also participate in a ground invasion of Iran?
Well, it's in the benefit of America to make it as international as possible, and ultimately the Strait of Hormuz to continue to be closed, and South Korea and Japanese economies were tanked, right? So they have a vested interest in sending
Okay,
forces.
so here you can see that he immediately just comes out and says, well, I didn't really research the numbers, I just kind of said them. So that's different from making a vague kind of gesture towards something that you think might happen, and saying a specific amount of troops as part of your prediction. But he says here that he's just painting a picture. It's just vibes. He's literally just vibing this shit out and kind of taking it from his imagination. So sometimes he really gets things right and is seeing things very clearly, but other times he's just pulling things straight out of his ass. And so that's why it's good for, Hasan to press him about these things, but ultimately maybe not that worth talking to in general. I mean, I guess this guy is amassing a large audience, and I think that he's kind of a prototype of, I think, a new type of political influencer that we'll see going forward. Very eclectic, all over the place with their theories and tying in some of these religious things in a way that creates a blanket type of worldview that seems to apply to everything. And in this next part is where it really goes off the rails. It goes off the rails pretty quickly here because Jiang starts talking about just conspiracy theories straightforwardly and how he's been looking into conspiracy theories and feels like the proof is pretty undeniable just for conspiracy theories in general, JFK, 9/11, all of it. And that's where things kind of go downhill.
So these past 4 years, I've been on a journey, and also I've been looking into certain conspiracy theories, such as a moon landing, such as JFK, such as 9/11, and the evidence is kind of overwhelming.
Overwhelming in what direction? That it's just fake.
In the government is covering things up.
Like you think they just like faked all of it? Like they set up 9/11 on their own to like go to war in the Middle East to create sufficient cause? Is that what it is?
Again, I unless you have a full picture of the cult and its impact on the imagination of people, it's really hard to understand what their motivations are, right? But once you understand their cult, once you look into secret societies, they really believe they have a religious mandate from God to remake the world in a certain way that welcomes God.
Okay, so this is where it kind of dips into the rest of his worldview here. And I think that his popularity, the heat that he had, kind of cooled off a little bit because he did start getting into crazy land pretty quickly with this stuff. And I think there's a big audience out there for sure. But I think there's a decent amount of people who bought into the idea that this is some kind of political savant or a guy who just understands geopolitics better than anybody because of his ability to explain things kind of quickly and just get straight to the reality of what America might do with their oil or what Donald Trump might be inclined to do because of his corruption, etc. He just makes predictions very straightforwardly in a way that sounds convincing. But a lot of it comes down to this kind of occultism stuff, and that's where it gets blurry in terms of what he is even trying to do with what he's saying, because clearly he thinks that there are certain sects and secret societies that are pulling the strings, and we're gonna get to that all later, the details of what he actually believes. But also there's a sense that he personally believes in this idea of kind of shaping the world based on, your way of thinking and putting images out there. He says he's trying to paint a picture for people, not necessarily get the facts 100% right. And that's why I say that he might genuinely feel like he can say something that's not factually true and it will kind of become true, or people will take it as true and it might as well be true, something like that. I think it gets kind of foggy with this guy because he philosophically seems to believe that truth is more about meditation and, inserting ideas into the universal consciousness more so than it's about like telling the truth or actually doing the work of coming to certain political conclusions. So you really see that here in this next part, and he gets deep into his anti-Semitic theories. And I think Hasan does a really good job of pushing back on this. This segment goes on for a long time. I cut it down quite a bit. But I mean, this shows where a general veneer of anti-Zionism or criticism of the state of Israel can delve into these deep, deep religious and occult-oriented narratives that, in my view, just don't really get you anywhere. And the people who go down this road in terms of what they think is going on with Israel and world politics in general aren't really trying to get anywhere, and they would rather just kind of focus on things that are stimulating and interesting, like things about magic, and the idea that there is a secret group of people that has an understanding of magic, and that's really the reason that everything is the way it is. I think that's very appealing to a lot of people, but it kind of falls apart on scrutiny, in my opinion. So here's that exchange.
And so one group that is very prominent, very powerful, are the Chabad-Lubavitch movement, and then Rebbe Sneerson was leader of that movement for many decades. He's obviously passed away. But the thing about Chabad-Lubavitch is like they are the largest property owners in Brooklyn. Okay, so they bought property way back before World War II, and now they're basically the biggest real estate developer in Brooklyn.
So you think it's the Chabad-Lubavitch guys that have a lot of influence in finance? It's not just like even if, because the common trope is there's a lot of Jewish people in positions of power, right? And in the field of finance and whatnot. I don't think any of those guys are a part of Chabad-Lubavitch, or maybe some might be, but by and large, I think there are some who are Zionists, some who have varying degrees of interest in like defending Israel's interests, but for the most part, they have their own self-interest. From my perspective, it's regardless of what someone's religious background is maintaining their class position. I don't think Hasidic Jews run finance, is what I'm saying. That would be a shock to me.
Right. And I'm not saying that. I'm not saying Chabad-Lubavitch, they run everything, okay? But they're interested in religious meditation. They're interested in mysticism. Okay, they're interested in ideas, and so they focus all their energies on meditation. Okay, if we believe the universe is pure energy, if we believe the universe is conscious, then these ideas would be uploaded to the universal subconscious. Okay, does that make sense? Because
it doesn't make sense to me, but I'm listening. I'm open-minded.
Okay, right. But I
don't believe we're all uploading our energy into a collective consciousness or anything.
But I'm saying let's just work with that. Okay.
Like what I can't connect here is like, where is the mystical future sight power coming from for these magical mystical Rebbe?
Let's use our imagination, okay? And let's try to be Rebbe Sneerson and go into his mind and how he perceives the world, okay? I'm Rebbe Sneerson, and I believe I'm a reincarnation of these great Jewish mystics who are now possessing me in order to fulfill the end times prophecy. Well, first of all, I need to create a transnational organization that can be politically effective in the United States and in Russia. Why? Because these are the two most powerful countries in the world at this point in history. And I know that because I've seen the future. Okay? So I need to create a political organization.
But wait, I'm in the Rebbe's mind and I can see the future already.
Yes, you can see the future. Yes.
That already sounds far-fetched. I'm gonna be honest. I feel like I don't think the Rebbe had the future foresight gifts, but okay.
Okay. And again, this is just a thought experiment. Okay, we're just using our imagination, and I'm trying to explain to you how this could have worked. I'm not saying this is what happened. I'm just saying like how do we add up all these different dots together? Okay, I'm in 1980s, 1990s in New York City. Okay, I'm Rebbe Sneerson, and I'm looking around me, and like, who do I think could potentially be a president of the United States? What kind of person do I think could run the White House, and who I could work with and co-opt over time?
You think they chose Donald Trump? That's what you think?
I think so.
That's crazy.
Donald Trump is someone that they're looking at because one, Donald Trump has been saying since the 1980s, I want to be president of the United States. Second of all, he's probably at this time the most famous American around the world, right? Like if you're like in Africa,
Donald Trump was not the most famous. No, Donald Trump in the 1980s was not the most famous American. You got Michael Jackson, you got Michael Jordan, 1990s.
Sure. I think if you're a poor person living in Africa, the person who
you think a poor person living in Africa knew who Donald Trump was in the 80s?
I think so.
No,
I think
that's crazy.
Because at this time in history, okay, like around the world, people are going to associate the American dream with Donald Trump. This is a guy who got rich and he's able to, sleep with like movie stars. He's able to
I don't think he was seen like that at all. He wasn't seen like that at all. He had a wife. Like, he was just like a weird real estate guy that was kind of gross. They mostly saw him as a cartoon figure.
I agree. Like in the 1980s, the rich saw Donald Trump as a clown. I agree with that. But again, like we're imagining we're Snarson. I'm like, who can we invest in?
Okay, so you can see how much he's developed this theory here. And the thing about Donald Trump, once it gets to that point, I mean, there's really not that much difference between that theory and the whole theory with Russia, that he was like being courted for many years by the Russian government, and like no real evidence ever materialized of that. And there's even less evidence for this theory from Jiang. Like that's connected to nothing. There's not a single thing you could point to that illustrates that same case. It's literally just vibes. But even beyond that, this idea that, courting Donald Trump in the 80s would lead to him being the president that he is now. It's all just kind of based on this preconceived notion that this is a few people, but at the same time, it's enough people that they can kind of orchestrate world events. And they're so powerful because of this meditation and this mysticism. But also, it's really just like one group of occult people. Like, if he's backed into a corner about, do these people control the world? He won't say that. He says like, oh no, I just think that these people are out there, right? And they have these occult beliefs. But he does seem to believe that there are magical implications to certain occult sects that may or may not exist. And the Lubavitch thing is real. It's a real organization that is influential, and it does pop up in the Epstein files. There was supposedly an informant for the FBI that was rattling off a bunch of this stuff about how Epstein was connected to intelligence, etc. I think this was a guy who was fairly discredited. This was one of the examples of a documented interview that wasn't necessarily connected to anything else that turned out to be factually true, but it is one of the things on the record tying Epstein to being some kind of Israeli intelligence agent, and also does specifically mention this Chabad Lubavitch thing, saying that he's a part of it. But ultimately, I think that the desire to go down the road of the occult stuff and the idea that there's a group of people that are capable through meditation of controlling the world on a spiritual level. I understand why that's appealing to people. It seems to me that it's appealing to Jiang because he wants to believe in his own ability to sort of influence the world through that type of manifestation. Frankly, I believe in some version of that, but I don't believe that there are any Jewish cults that have a better grip on it than anybody else. And I think that when you get into the secret society stuff, and wanting to believe that there are small groups of people that have outsized influence, it really becomes about what exactly is the driver of that power. Is it magic? Is it a group of people having access to magic that other people don't have? Or is it something more material than that? And when you focus on the material, it points you to different perpetrators of the crimes against humanity that we experience. It is the people that control the most capital, the owners of capital. Those are the people who control the most decisions and have the most power in the decisions that they make. So if you don't believe in that, then you have to believe that through magical means, through some unseeable, unknowable means, there are groups of people who control the events of society. And if you believe that, if you want to go down that road, that's fine. That's up to you. But understand that you'll never, ever get proof of that. You'll never actually see it. And you're choosing to believe in something that, by its very nature, it is asking of you that you believe in something you'll never see, which in some ways is the nature of religion. And I think that's why some people are kind of oriented towards that. But don't kid yourself. And if you don't want the enemies that you find yourself orienting yourself towards to be unseeable, unknowable, and in that way kind of undefeatable, then you have to focus on a more material reality where there's a flow of commerce that benefits a certain minority of people. And that minority of people is not Jewish people. There are Jewish people in that minority, but there's a bunch of different types of people as well. And it really comes down to capitalist opportunism when you look at it from that view, which is the better, less bloody, less fascistic, and closer to a solution way of looking at reality, in my view.
I'm in the pocket, and they know they can't slow it, can't stop shit. How the game so cold, so toxic. Can't drop cause they're in somebody's pocket. For me that's not it.